Welcome to the Parsha Perspective. Each week, we will delve deep in a weekly Torah portion to find a practical and insightful way to enhance your daily life. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Rabbi Shlomo, and each week we will look into the weekly Torah portion to find practical and insightful ways to enhance your daily life. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of our homeland, Eretz Yisrael. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu continue to protect our brave soldiers, and may He comfort all those who are grieving and give healing to our nation. This week's Parsha Perspective is in loving memory of Edward ben Efraim, Shlomo ben Edward, and Yirachmiel Daniel ben Gedalia. May their souls be uplifted, and may their memories be a blessing. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of the Refuah Shlema of Benyamin ben Tova, Rafael ben Mazal, and Orna bas Lili. May they have a complete and speedy recovery. This week's Torah portion is Parshas Va'era, before redemption begins. Our Parsha begins with God responding to Moshe Rabbeinu's outcry on why he allowed the situation to worsen. Before Moshe demanded that Pari let the Jewish people go, the Egyptians provided straw to make cement. However, after Moshe approached Pari, the Egyptians stopped supplying the necessary materials to make cement. And despite this, they had to maintain the same production quota, forcing the Jewish people to work even harder under impossible conditions. So in response to Moshe Rabbeinu's plea, God reveals one of his most holy names, a name that he had not revealed to our forefathers, to Abraham, Yitzchak, or Yaakov, and God reassures Moshe that he has heard the cries of the Jewish people and remembers his covenant, and he promised that he will punish the Egyptians and redeem his nation from their suffering. The Parsha recounts 7 of the 10 plagues that God brought upon the Egypt and Egyptians to compel Pari to free the Jewish nation, and these plagues included Dam, Sfardeya, Kinim, Orev, Dever, Shchin, and Barad. Blood, frogs, lice, wild animals, death of cattle, boils, and fiery hail. Each plague followed this set pattern. The plague itself would last 1 week and was preceded by 3 weeks of warning from Moshe and Aaron. However, a question comes to mind. The Parsha opens up in the middle of an ongoing discussion and conversation between God and Moshe Rabbeinu, as I mentioned. And God reveals Shem Havaya, a divine name that has not been revealed to our forefathers, a name that expresses His eternal presence, as past, present, and future as one. And at this point, one would expect the narrative to move directly into Moshe's mission to Pari. And yet the Torah pauses. At the beginning of the second Aliyah, it turns to the lineage of the first 3 tribes, the first 3 Shvatim, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, and then traces Moshe Rabbeinu's own legacy to Levi through his parents, Amram and Yocheved. Why does the Torah interrupt the flow at this exact moment? What is the purpose of detailing these specific lineages here? Why is Moshe's origin placed in between the conversation of God revealing himself to him to his conversation to Pari and the Egyptians? The famous commentary, the Baal HaTurim, Rav Yaakov ben Usher, gives us a simple explanation in his Sefer, in his book on the Torah, the Torah Aruch. And he writes that the Torah's true intention at this section specifically was to present the genealogy of the tribe of Levi and not the other tribes. However, had the Torah begun immediately with Levi's lineage, it could have created a misunderstanding, leading one to assume that Levi had now become the eldest of the brothers, the Rosh Hashvatim. And accordingly, the Torah briefly mentions the genealogies of Reuven and Shimon, giving them the honor due to their seniority. And their lineages are stated very concisely, while Levi's genealogy is expanded in great detail, making it clear that the tribe of Levi is the focus. And in this way, the Torah preserves proper respect and honor, while directing our attention to the tribe of Levi, from which Moshe and Aaron emerge from. However, the Rashbam, Rav Shmuel ben Meir, one of Rashi's grandsons, gives us a deeper and more profound explanation. And he writes that the Torah is not merely listing names or recording family history. It is teaching us how a family becomes a unified nation at the moment of destiny. In Parshas Va'era, Yaakov Avinu on his deathbed rebukes 3 of his sons, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, for their failures. Each one was admonished for their actions that reflected instability, impulsiveness, and uncontrolled zeal. And on the surface, these words sound like curses, like moments of rejection rather than blessing. Yet the Rashbam explains that rebuke does not remove their destiny. These sons were not discarded from the future of the Jewish people. In fact, they remained the foundation upon which this nation would be built despite their flaws. And as this family begins to become a nation after decades of slavery, the Torah deliberately revisits their lineage. And it reminds us that leadership does not emerge from perfection, but from responsibility after failure. And the very tribes once rebuked now stand at the center of Yetzias Mitzrayim at the redemption's beginning. Reuven, Shimon, and Levi represent struggle, repair, and growth within the same story. And their lineage is recorded to show that earlier mistakes do not disqualify them from shaping history. Instead, those struggles refine them for the roles they will eventually assume. And the tribe of Levi in particular would become the spiritual backbone of the Jewish nation. And from this lineage would emerge Aaron, Moshe Rabbeinu, and those that carried the divine service forward. And the Torah pauses here to show that holiness often emerges from repair, not from untouched innocence. The Rashbam teaches us that redemption does not erase the past, it redeems it. Before Yetzias Mitzrayim, before the Exodus begins, the Torah forces us to remember who we are and where we come from. And this pause is not a detour, it's not a delay, it is a declaration. A nation is not built through perfection, but through responsibility taken after failure. Destiny is not cancelled by weakness, it is refined through struggle. And before freedom could unfold, the people had to remember who they were becoming. In our daily life, it is imperative to recognize that we descend from people who faced overwhelming pressure and still refused to abandon their values or direction. And their strength is not an absence of struggle, but it is the decision to stand when retreat felt safer. And that legacy teaches us that resilience is learned, practiced, and carried forward through action every single day. When others give up, when others blend in or lower expectations, we are meant to rise differently. We carry the capacity to endure difficulty without losing clarity, to grow without losing integrity, to succeed, and to realize that success is not reserved for moments when conditions are ideal, but forged when the challenges are greatest. And when we choose persistence over comfort, when we choose purpose over fear, we unlock the ability to achieve far beyond what we thought possible. There's a profound quote that I once read. Achievement is not the reward of ease, but the consequence of refusing to surrender direction. Have a great weekend and good Shabbos. Thank you for tuning in to the Parsha Perspective. Check out our website, theparshaperspective.com. Send thoughts and comments to theparshaperspective@gmail.com. Till next time, thanks for listening.